Hello and welcome to this presentation about recording presenting complaint in the emergency department, a pan-European review of methods. My name is Kelly and myself and my co-authors work in two wonderful Irish hospitals. One is a major academic teaching centre with an ED that hosts more than 50,000 visits per year, and the other, just down the coast road, is a smaller but affiliated daytime only ED hosting about a third of that. So why be interested in presenting complaint? Because as doctors, it forms the axis of our practice. In medical school, our mentors, and indeed our med school Bible, tells us that if we just really listen to the patient, we'd do better, recommending even that we use their words rather than ours to set us off on our diagnostic adventure. In fact, emergency medicine is really unlike other hospital departments in that the patient's complaint, rather than a specific diagnosis, is what dictates why, when, and where the consultation is happening. In Ireland, in 2010, the Health Information and Quality Authority began a program they called National Standards for Safer, Better Healthcare, which had as its first theme person-centered care and support. In our hospital, we responded to this by trying to create a presenting complaint list that most closely represented the actual words the patient used when registering in more than 0.1% of the time. We literally sat behind reception and recorded their every word. We then watched how this language changed between patient to administration staff, to nurse, to doctor, and then even on to specialist. If any of you have been using Google Translate this week, you might know what I'm getting at. I've never, for example, heard a patient say, "I have type 2 respiratory failure." They say, "I'm having trouble breathing." This is our list. We found it more accurate to record both the issue and the complaint. They were saying things like, "I was in a car accident and I have a sore back. I'm not feeling well, I've been vomiting. I was self-harming, but I think I cut myself too deep. I fell and I hurt my ankle. I was playing rugby and I hit my head." Listening to the words they used, we found there were often two valuable parts of the story they were telling. Our IT system allowed us to record both, so we recorded them both. Many Irish hospitals outside of our group routinely only use the Manchester triage system to record complaint data. We also use Manchester for triage, when the nurse is assigning a risk category. You may know it. There are 52 items. Of these, 8 are either pediatric or process codes, and a further 7 are diagnoses or issues such as a fall, leaving us with really 35 real complaints or symptoms. We wondered what other countries were doing. We looked at each of the 20 most populous countries in Europe. We chose this number because Ireland is the 20th. We added Norway and Switzerland because they are also bigger than us. For each country, we then conducted individual PubMed searches using the country name and the words presenting complaint. We found 150 articles arising from 18 countries. We then eliminated any articles that were only discussing a single complaint, such as assessment of patients who presented to the ED with mushroom poisoning, or a strange case of a headache in an 83-year-old. This reduced our data set to 20 articles from 15 countries. Then, from either the article itself or from contacting the authors, we tried to find out what method was used to record presenting complaint. We were able to find out the method in articles from 12 countries. Of these 12, 4 were using an internationally established system of codes to record presenting complaint. 8 were using locally derived lists. Of these 8, 4 were translating their lists into standard coding systems in order to produce the research. We attempted to do the same. We attempted to translate our lists into each of the coding systems used by the others and had varying degrees of success. I did a pre-course to this conference, and in it our leader Terence Mulligan said, "You're all from different countries, different departments, and different healthcare systems. We're just hoping that 80% of what we teach you will be useful in your center, but we know that 20% of it won't." It was a really good course, and more than 80% of it was useful. And similarly, between good and fair code equivalents, we achieved well over 80% success using every system except for Manchester triage. So where to from here? While we were at it, we contacted the authors from each of the studies we were able to find addresses for. 9 replied. We asked them if they were interested in the possibility of working together to share and compare data. 100% of respondents said yes. But how might this happen? Is there anyone else doing something similar? In 2008, while working in the ED, I was also working for the Irish College of General Practitioners, who, with funding from that same Health Information and Quality Authority, were trying to establish the feasibility of a national Irish general practice morbidity and epidemiological database. This is a busy slide. It was a busy project. There were over 2,000 GPs in Ireland in over 1,500 practices, using a variety of computer systems to a variety of degrees. We tried to develop a system where each practice and each software could reliably and securely upload standardized data from every consultation into a central server that could then be used for research. In 2009, we submitted an article to the Journal of Data and Information Quality, concluding at that stage that it just wasn't feasible. There was a dearth of data, infrastructure, and a lack of support for its merit. The article itself wasn't published until 2012, and in the meantime, work continued on the database. In 2014, the Irish Primary Care Research Network was up and running. Well, sort of. It's still finding its feet, but it's working. It's generating data. It's generating tools. Often these are driven mostly by individual research projects, but it's delivering good workable data and functionality on a range of systems, and it's not the only one. There's even a pan-European primary care research network. A quick trip through their website reveals also a few underdeveloped areas, but it's working. We've been in touch with them. This is particularly interesting because primary care is almost the only other specialty where patients dictate the presentation, similar to the way they do in the emergency department. So where to from here? 4 years from now, will an article be published saying it just isn't possible? I don't think so. There already exists an active body of presenting complaint-related research from EDs across Europe. And we've shown that data regarding presenting complaint can be compared between centers who are using different coding systems. And there's a definite international appetite for this to happen. And working models of how this might happen are available. Thank you.